Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to Celebrity Natal Charts. Today, we are going to be looking at the chart of Michael Carlyle Hall, I believe is how his middle name is pronounced. And he is born February 1st, 1971. He's an American actor known for his role as Dexter Morgan in the Showtime TV network Dexter and as David Fisher on the HBO drama series 6 Feet Under. In 2010, Hall won a Golden Globe Award and a Screen Actors Guild Award for his role in Dexter. And so, as I've been searching through different Aquariuses to do these readings on, which I just recently recorded the chart of Neymar, who is an Aquarius rising Sagittarius. Love him. He was great. It was really great looking at his chart. But I was kind of sad because Paris Hilton is like my quintessential famous Aquarius, who also has a rising Sagittarius. So I might do a video about that later in the future just because I'm always talking about her. But then it's kind of funny because the sign of Sagittarius is sort of my sign of like a cult following, like extreme fame. Like their Sagittarius has become so famous that they're not an individual artist, that they actually become like a whole genre. Like with Jim Morrison, like Jimi Hendrix, Bette Midler, like they're just like these really like huge characters. So it's kind of ironic that I can't find celebrities that don't have rising. It's like most of them have rising Sagittarius. But Mr. Hall has a rising Aquarius. So he's an Aquarius, rising Aquarius, which I think would be a really interesting chart to look at. And let's start. So his first house, he has Aquarius, because he's a rising Aquarius, where he also has his sun, because he's, like I said. And so that to me, it says he's probably like really good friends with his father, probably looks a lot like his dad. Um, and his ability to be philanthropic or a good friend to people boosts his self-esteem. So where most people probably they get their self-esteem charged by compliments. Like um, you're really handsome, you're really smart. What makes him feel the best about himself is when people are like, oh, you're such a good friend. Oh, you're so helpful. I was really in need and you helped me out. I appreciate you. And he's like, I'm a real good guy. So his second house is in the sign of Pisces. So this says to me that his biggest cash cow, how he makes the most money, is off of like somewhat like miserable people, or like couch potatoes, people who watch too much TV. Which I never watched the show Dexter, but I'm very aware of it as like a TV person. I am aware also of 6 Feet Under. I don't think I've really watched that show before, but when I was looking up his chart, I was like, "Who is Michael Hall?" And then I was like, "Oh, he's like pretty famous. Like those are pretty like prolific TV shows." And so this also says like, so like, how does he make his money off of like the sad and the miserable and depressed, but also like people who are very isolated, and then also for him building his finances. Um, he does that best in isolation or in seclusion. Even as an actor, where there's an entire cast of people, maybe he does his best work as doing like Foley acting or voiceover because he can be alone, or works best in scenes where he is alone. And like I said, I haven't watched Dexter or 6 Feet Under, so there could be a lot of scenes where he's the only person on camera. And in his third house of Aries, this says to me that he has like a very aggressive, maybe even like threatening voice. Um, but he also has Chiron in his third house of Aries. So this says to me like he's probably always encouraging other people to be more aggressive or to put more bass in their voice, but it's something that he struggles with on his own. So he could like literally, so Aries always reminds me of this SNL sketch called like the Firehouse Incident, where I think it's Barry, or I can't think of his real name, but he plays Barry on that HBO series. His name is, can't think of it. Um, yeah, uh, but he's like a firefighter in this firehouse, and somebody brings like his ex girlfriend over there, and he has like a freak out panic attack, and his voice becomes like very shrill and like feminine. So that's what I think of Aries. Like when they're angry, they like start to scream like a pig, um, like squeal, make like a squealing noise. So this might be something, he might be like, oh, you're coming off really aggressive, like you need to lower your voice or you need to calm down. And then he talks the exact same way. Uh, and then, which is something like I was saying in the Chapel Roan video where I was like, oh, she like says and like a lot. And like she's like kind of like Aquaria from Drag Race. Like she has a hard time getting her words out. And I speak the exact same way. I don't think I have Chiron in my third house, but like whatever. Um, and in his fourth house, he has Taurus. So this says to me that like his mother is very like financially like it's we have fourth house in Taurus and also the planet of Saturn. So his mother was probably very like an authoritative figure. She might have been like a little bit sadistic, but also like very stable and pretty wealthy. Because Saturn is like the planet of sadism and like people who enjoy either enduring pain or causing pain. And it being in the fourth house, it's like emotional pain. So this even says about his own life, like maybe his mother like cursed at him a lot or put curses on him. So like he could have a lot of strong feelings about sadomasochism, like he might enjoy that. And being in a show like Dexter sort of alludes to that as well. Oh, but I also wanted to mention at the beginning of this video, which is no longer, about like the accuracy. Like I think I talk about it a little bit about the accuracy of these natal charts, where I'm just analyzing the chart that I see. If it's inaccurate, then that to that person, I'm sure it'll be relative to somebody else. Because I don't know, like double checking something about the Justin Timberlake video, and there are natal charts posted online that says that he's a Capricorn. And I was like, oh wow, like it says like his birthday's I think like January 4th or something. And I was like, oh, like that's very interesting. But there are also other natal charts that say he's an Aquarius. So this isn't about them having the most accurate chart. This is about reading the chart that is provided. So maybe his chart is like very inaccurate. I don't know. And then his fifth house, we have Gemini. So fifth house in Gemini, famous for talking, or famous for speaking, or acting, or like playing games. Um, but also the fifth house to me always talks about like what obstacles to overcome, and Gemini is the house of, or the sign of, um, like your peers, like people the same height as you, your friends, your cousins, the people you went to school with, your siblings, brothers and sisters, people your own age. So perhaps he doesn't really connect with people his own age so much. They present themselves as an obstacle. Maybe they don't feel as accomplished as he is. I mean, like, Screen Actors Guild Award, Golden Globes. So, maybe they like try to attack him, or maybe that's the reason why maybe you don't see him in so many other projects, is because he doesn't really have the support of his generation. Maybe like younger people are more drawn to him, maybe older people are more drawn to him. Okay, and then his sixth house, we have the sign of Cancer, which I know every time people hear the sign of Cancer, they think about the disease and they're like, oh, like I'm born in July. Does this mean I'm going to get cancer and die? um, but I think that actually, when you have Cancer in the sixth house, it does kind of talk about like um, overeating, overindulging, addictive behavior. Um, addictive behavior is affecting your health and your work. So that might not necessarily be the disease of cancer, but it's almost like he's like, his work life or his health is very cancerous or cancerian. To me, like that's the first impression I got. But I guess in a more love and light interpretation, it would say like, he's very obsessive about his work. He's like addicted to working. Um, his work might trigger memories about his mother. His work uh, is like overwhelming, because cancer to me also, um, I guess like technically the sign of like burnout and being overwhelmed is more so associated with like Sagittarius and Capricorn. Cancer's opposite sign. But I think Cancer, being, like vaguely, um, well, I guess it's actually like the Four of Cups, and the Seven of Cups is more Scorpio, but it's on the verge in the tarot of being like overwhelmed with options. Um, like how a mother is overwhelmed. You know what I mean? Got to look after the kids. Got to feel good about yourself, like as a woman or as a man or whatever. Got to make breakfast. Got to go to work. Like how like a bit like a busy mother. So he might like look at himself as like a busy mother or like a working mom, which could be overwhelming. And then in seventh house we have Leo. So this says that he is really good at attracting fame, attention, and also the attention of famous people. So he most likely has a lot of famous friends or famous buddies or famous sexual partners, which happens when you are a celebrity. And in his eighth house, we have the sign of Virgo. So this says to me, we have the sign of Virgo and also the planet of Pluto. So this says to me that when it comes to healing and his health, he turns to more like holistic or like herbal medicine, like maybe going to an apothecary before he would go to a pharmacy, which could be the reason why I felt so troubled by him seeing cancer in his sixth house, which I'm a very, doing the natal chart reading, I do tarot readings, I do spell work. So I'm very much into like, before you go see the doctor who might be racist and a butcher, who's just trying to like, sell your parts and organs to some cannibal or something. Um, I'm very much like, let's search spirit first. Let's see if God has an answer before, we, turn ourselves over to the sword. But for some reason, whatever the energy I feel, it's like, he should go to the doctor. But yeah, so it's eighth house in Virgo, Pluto there as well. So he probably likes to study occultism and magic, mediumship, communicating with the dead, ghosts. He might, for some reason, the movie Ghost just popped in my head. So he might be like in because they're doing a lot of like revamps. And the eighth house is, it's a Scorpion house, so it's about life, death, reincarnation. So he could be in a lot of reboots of old TV shows, like I said, Ghost or Alf. I'm feeling like a show that's similar to Alf about aliens because he's an Aquarius. So he could be in a lot of reboots. They could reboot Dexter. They could reboot 6 Feet Under. Oh, and then the show 6 Feet Under that he's famous for is about dead people. So that's a thing, and it could have been really good for. It's really good. Could have been really good work for him as he won an award because it's Virgo. And and I'm sure Dexter is about death too, right? Because he's like a serial killer or something. Never watched it. Don't want to. All I know about Dexter is like whenever you cover stuff in plastic, like you're about to paint, people always say that. So like maybe that's like a thing in the show. I don't know. Don't know. Don't want to know. And then his ninth house, he has the sign of Libra, and the planet of Aquarius, or the planet of Uranus, which is Aquarius's ruling planet. They really should. They should really just change the houses and the signs and the planets to like the same word. It's like the Aquarius house, Aquarius the sign, Aquarius the planet. But I guess that would be like confusing with the constellations and everything. But so like I said, Uranus, Aquarius' ruling planet, in the ninth house, Libra. This says to me that when it comes to long-term relationships and marriage, the sign of Libra is a really good match for him. But also probably the sign of Aquarius because he's a sun and rising Aquarius. Plus, we got the planet Uranus there. So this also says that it's like actually very romantic because as Aquarius is a more of like a platonic energy, this says to me that when it comes to marriage, he actually does believe in the concept of like, we'll be married in life and we will also be married in death. Like a very long time. Like he might even believe in like, like whoever his partner is. He's like, oh, I met you in a past life. I remember being with you in a past life, things like that. And in his 10th house, he has the sign of Scorpio. So like literally from his sixth house, his seventh house, his eighth house, his ninth house, his 10th house, it's like he's going to be really famous for like death and dying. So if I were to have done this natal chart reading for him, like, in 1981 or 1991, before he was on HBO or before he was on Showtime, I would be like, oh God, like I think you might be like a serial killer, like you know what I mean? And then it's like you're gonna be like a really famous serial killer, like one of those famous serial killer guys. And it's like, no, just kidding. He's not gonna be a famous serial killer. He's gonna play a famous serial killer on television, and he's gonna make a really good career out of it and win a lot of awards and receive a lot of achievements from that. It's like, oh God, like Scorpio in the 10th house, like, you're either gonna like have 20 children or kill 20 people, um, or like become an accountant. And then in his 11th house of Aquarius, or friendship and networks and social network and technology, he has the sign of Sagittarius, the planet Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Neptune. So I believe in the beginning of this video, if this wasn't the first recording, because this is the second take that I'm doing of this video, I talked about Neymar's chart, who has a rising Sagittarius, and how like the irony of like trying to find a famous Aquarius who doesn't have rising Sagittarius. He has a lot of planets in the sign of Sagittarius, and then also it's in the 11th house, which is Aquarius's ruling house of Sagittarius, so he's famous. He and like I said about his 7th house in Leo, also reiterated in his 11th house with the planet Venus here, being like he's really good at attracting other famous people. Mars, he's really good at acting famous or really good at acting. Acting has brought him a lot of attention and fame. He's great at it. He's won awards. Sagittarius. Jupiter, Sagittarius is ruling planet. He's very lucky with friends and technology. And maybe there is something, this I didn't read this from his IMDb, so he could literally be still on television or doing movies that I'm just not aware of. But maybe because of technology, it's actually very lucky that he hasn't been on television, because maybe he'll be able to make a lot of money from like residuals or from other projects um, that are on a different form of technology, like something on a phone app or some magical new device that we aren't aware of yet. And he also has the planet of Neptune, so it's like talking about Neptune and Uranus sort of talk about boundlessness. So I would say that because of his ninth house Libra Uranus position, that he probably has a lot of sexual partners, a lot of people that he loves. And because of Neptune in his 11th house, I'd say there's a lot of like illusions around his friends. So, he probably pretends to be a lot wealthier than he is. Maybe he's delusional about his success on television. Whether if that means, how successful he will be or how successful he was. But very lucky guy, very good at making friends, very good at taking action. That's his 11th house. Oh, and also I guess like he's very lucky with technologies, like I was saying. So, and also like 2010, I think that was like a really good time to be on television, because that was sort of uh the year right before like live streaming, like because Hulu used to be like an illegal live streaming site that people would watch episodes of Family Guy on, so I always say, I'm like, oh, I remember like when Hulu was illegal, and now it's like I'm paying $22 a month for it. It's kind of crazy. And then like I'm constantly talking about blockbusters and how badly I wish that it would come back, just like to make a good Saturday night out of things. And how like so that this whole 11th house placement talks about like, you know, how people used to go to dinner theaters, and then they started going to movies and Nickelodeons, and then the drive-through, and then movies were filmed to be specifically watched at the drive-through from your car, because that's where the money was. And then it went to like the Cineplex. So it's like, you need to have that summer blockbuster, the movie that people want to go and see on Saturday night. You don't want to have, you don't want every movie to be, like Schindler's List, because they're going to go watch it on a Friday, Saturday night with their date. And that's not like really romantic. It's not happy. It's not like a good movie. Like it's a good movie, but like it's not a happy movie. It's not like, you've been working all week at like a factory or some like dead end job, and you're trying to escape into a fantasy land, and then the fantasy is Armistad, and you're just like, God, like, can't it just be like Danny Zuko and Olivia Newton-John making out? Like, Jesus Christ. And then, film, like now this whole video is about film history now. Thank you for my tuning into my new series, Film History and Technology History. Um, and then that changed to, you know, what movies are going to be rented the most at Blockbuster. And now, or after 2010, because even Netflix was a mail service initially, where it's like you would request, almost like a library, you would request like DVDs to be sent to your house and you would send them back. And then it turned into live streaming. And live streaming has changed, you know, the way, like how even shows are written, because they're written for syndication, with cliffhangers, especially HBO and Showtime with these like really great cliffhangers to make you come back next week and watch, so you don't give up your $400 Comcast or cable subscription, and you continue to pay. But you know, like watching a show like Weeds, or like I think like looking at the show Weeds and then Orange is the New Black is really good, because I feel like Weeds was made for Showtime and Orange is the New Black was made for streaming, right? So that's a big thing that's on his mind that's being like shown also within his chart. So it could have been very lucky for him to not have been in a lot of shows since 2010, because of how media is being shared and displayed. So we might get into another industry, some type of futuristic stuff, maybe dealing with alien technology. I don't know. So that just seems like a huge theme. It's been a huge theme in my life, but then also just like the way that shows are filmed. You know, uh, in tradition, they're being filmed for television and the movie screen, which is like a landscape. Where nowadays a lot of people watch TV and movies on their phone, which it's like, you know, maybe he'll film a show or a movie that's filmed completely in portrait mode, so that's better to be watched on a phone, you know, or like an iPhone or whatever, a smartphone. And then his 12th house of Capricorn. So this says to me, I'm not trying to call him a loser or anything, because it's just like I'm an ignorant person that doesn't really consume a lot of media, and the whole purpose, or my internalized purpose of doing these celebrity natal chart movies, is that to increase and further my knowledge of interpreting natal charts and astrology, but also to be more adept to the cultural zeitgeist and celebrities, so that I'm not always constantly talking about Paris Hilton, because there's going to come a day when I'm 60 and I'm reading someone's natal chart and I'm like, oh, Paris Hilton. And they're like, who the hell is that? You know, um, so I'm not trying to call him like unaccomplished or anything, but in his 12th house, we have Capricorn here, which says to me that, um, you know, doing anything for a very long time makes him sort of miserable. So maybe he was like, I'm done doing movies, I'm done doing television, I want to move on to something else, like maybe getting to technology, or getting into the tech space. I want to get into the tech space. I'm an Aquarius. I want to get into the tech space. You know, things like that, like business and other things, because that's a placement where he struggles. Um, Maybe because of his third house in Aries and Chiron, he's like has a shrill speaking voice when he's not acting. Alrighty. So that, oh, and I also want something. Alrighty, we're done. Goodbye. So I also wanted to mention, because I'm sort so like I said, that this is my attempt to uh, revamp and strengthen my knowledge of astrology and natal charts and celebrities, because I remember watching like the RuPaul talk show, and RuPaul, for whatever, I mean, I guess because he's you know, nigga mad because he's old, and he just mad because he's old, like, you know, Grandpa from the Boondocks. Um, he like, I don't know, like I feel like he's like this whole like hatred towards like New Direction, because like his interactions with like Crystal Method, and I think they were on his show or someone was talking about him on the show, and he's like, I don't know them, I don't know what that is. And it's like, girl, like like people like him. You know, you're a drag queen. People like New Direction. You should know what that is. You know, and that was sort of the inspiration when I first started. I was like, oh, I'm gonna do like a Justin Bieber natal chart or Adam Levine, because those were the like big pop stars from when I was young. But I was like, Justin Bieber's like 30 years old now. You know, like he's not really like a fresh face. And I was like, let me do Chapel Roan, because I don't want to be this person that's like stuck in the past and hates the future. Um, 45-minute dig at RuPaul. Um, So that was my thinking. I was like, I'm not trying to be like RuPaul, who like is mad because he's old and hates New Direction and alienate uh younger people. But okay, and then so also, so he's, racial slurs aside, he is born in the year of the pig. And I mean, like, not to make everything about RuPaul, but like he's a Scorpio. Scorpios are slightly associated with the sign of the pig, or that's what the internet has said to me before. Um, so maybe he has a thing about not liking the future. And in the tarot, like the court cards that are associated with air signs, like the Page of Swords, the Knight of Swords, the King and Queen of Swords, um, the Knight of Swords, so like younger Aquariuses or younger Geminis or younger Libras. These are people who look like I in one of my video series, like it came up like every reading. The Knight of Swords is somebody who looks in the past in anger. So they're like, ooh, the Holocaust, it makes me so angry. Slavery, the past makes me so angry. Civil rights, apartheid, I'm mad. I hate the past. The past sucks. But also, there's good things about the past, like, drive-in movies and Blockbuster and, and flip phones and record players and tap dancing or whatever. So it's like, as a Pisces, I probably look at the past with love. Um, and but then also the Knight of Swords can be a person who looks at the future in anger. So like as I was saying with his 11th house placement and like Jupiter and Neptune, where it's like uh, you know, um, oh Netflix, oh I hate streaming, grr, like I should be getting residuals from them playing 6 Feet Under on television on HBO, but now people can watch all of 6 Feet Under, which had beautiful cliffhangers. I'm sure because it was an HBO show. Haven't watched it, but I'm pretty sure that's how HBO does all the shows. And it's like there's no reason to have had those cliffhangers, and then you're watching it on Netflix, and it's like super corny because it's like, oh no, what's gonna happen next? It's like, oh, this is what's gonna happen next. It's right here, next episode. Figure it all out in a week. Like these like really great mystery, like mystery novels, like reading the Harvey Boys or Nancy Drew or something, and you're like, oh, I have to wait till next week when I can go back to the library and return this book and I can figure out what's going to happen in the mystery. There's really no like anticipation anymore. Like it's so much of a rush, right? And I do have a lot of Aquarius in my chart, but I actually have Venus and Mars in Aquarius just like him. So he's a person that goes through a lot of that. And then just to like go back after like I said, 45-minute dig at RuPaul. Venus Aquarius people, Mars Aquarius people, they like to take a lot of time. So as I'm like, I've never seen him on TV outside of these two shows. Like I said, he could literally be on like one of the hottest shows right now that I'm not aware of. And I mean, he was sort of in two really hot shows that I wasn't aware of. So that wouldn't be bad. But he's a no, I'm wrong. He has Mars and Venus in his 11th house in the sign of Sagittarius. But because that's the 11th house, it's like he likes to take a very long time to make friends and have a lot of like awkward interactions with people before they fall in love or he takes actions on things. My bad, forgive me. And I just honestly just wanted to talk about myself and where my Venus and Mars placements were. So the pig, yes, he's born in the sign of the pig. um, Some say that people born in the year of the pig are honest, kind, and understanding. They are also known for being peacemakers and are said to be good conversationalists. Some say that people born in the year of the pig are compatible with rabbits and sheep. So, my interpretation of the pig is that pig is Scorpio, but this interpretation sounds like it's closer to um, Libra. And he's born, his heavenly branch is the metal pig. So, what does that say to me? That says to me that, like, I guess other than him having like a shrill speaking voice or being really quick to anger, he's also a peacemaker. Also, like being an Aquarius, so it's like maybe when he thinks about things like civil rights or like I said, like I did talk about Schindler's List a little bit too, like about like the Holocaust and slavery and apartheid and genocide and, North and South Korea and Scotland and Ireland, England and Ireland, like William Orange or whatever, and like Rwanda and global tragedies. It makes him like cry with like anger and like a shrill screaming voice. He like gets really upset maybe. From what I've seen in his chart, haven't experienced, don't know him. um, could be a thing. He might like, and I think I did say, which I did kind of know that he was a pig, but I forget things. I did kind of say that like in his third house with Aries, it's like when he gets angry, he like probably starts screeching and squealing like a pig. Um, and I've also been like, I've already dropped the N bomb in this video, so like I also feel like uh, you know, he might have a proclivity, based on like all of his Pluto and Scorpio positionings and eighth house in Virgo with Pluto, where he might want to talk about astrology, and I'm saying it's aliens, but he might want to talk about astrology, celestial bodies, and celestial beings. But he might have a fear of that because of more powerful, more accurate psychics. And I have been becoming aware of like cryptids and like the reality, like the very true reality of like mystical beings that exist, because in meditation it was like, Micah, like you don't know from ugly people. Like there's literally like holler hog people that look like Jabba the Hutt that live in abandoned coal mines in West Virginia, who are literally like worm people, and they're very psychic and powerful, and they do drugs, and like you would only know about it from being involved in like you know being involved in things that you shouldn't be involved in. So it's like, maybe there's things that he wants to be involved in, like spirituality and psychics and mystical whatever, but he's afraid of holler hog people. Um, and like literally I've been like sort of having night terrors too, because it's like, if you I've been receiving this message, it's like, if you because they're like, I guess the two most powerful holler hog people, I have received names, I don't leave their names out of it. um West Virginia holler hog people. uh like if you lie about your natal chart information, or if you lie about being an astrologer or a medium, they like do mind control to like capture you. And I was like, oh shit, like I was like, I know what I know, and then what I don't know I'm learning, and I'm sharing, and we're learning together. Please don't fucking kidnap and kill me, holler hog people of West Virginia. um but like, because their DNA is so infused with swine, they can like smell race, and they can like smell your astrological energies. And there are a lot of people that like catfish people online, new technologies, Aquarius. Um, so they're like aware of this, and it's like, if you go around like lying about your race or your natal chart information, they'll like capture you somehow under mind control, because you're probably because they're also connected to like the drug world and like cocaine and things like that, because it takes a lot of energy for them to move around, because they're like human worms. Um, so I'm not saying that he is a holler hog person because he is born on the sign of the pig. But it just might be like, he might be aware that there are humans that are like spliced with different animals, and because he's on the show Dexter, and like, you get to certain levels of acclaim and fame. So he might be very aware of the reality of like cryptid human beings, or genetically modified human beings from the government. And I think like the holler hog people have a lot to conspiracy bay. I should have been like, what is it? Aquarius rising, Aquarius slash conspiracy bay. And it's like the Montauk monster thing had to do with West Virginia holler hog people, government experiments, and DNA and gene splicing. He might be the descendant of a holler hog person being born under the sign of the pig for whatever reason. That might be like a clue. I was also talking about the Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew. So maybe this whole video is a clue about West Virginia holler hog people. I don't even know if it tells you like where he's from originally, but something like that. And maybe, like I said, maybe he does the X Files. Like, cause even when I was reading his chart, I was like, oh my god, like if I would have read his chart in the 80s, I'd be like, oh, he's gonna become a famous serial killer. He's gonna be famous for killing people. But then, no, he's on a very famous television show about a serial killer. So as I'm seeing that he's born in the sign of the pig, I'm like, oh no, he's like a West Virginia holler hog person that's going to kill people who, are inaccurate about their astrology. He might do a movie about West Virginia holler hog people or cryptids and Bigfoot and aliens like the X Files. Um, Also, maybe things involving like, I'm sure the N word probably bothers him, but like things about like apartheid and Hotel Rwanda and things like that as well. He could be like on the X Files. Okay. So thank you guys for listening, liking, sharing, and subscribing to my rant about holler hog people. And then I also wanted to say about the holler hog people and them being able to sniff race and sniff astrological energies, because you might be thinking to yourself, like, who would lie about their natal chart? Like, who's that vain? And it's like if you were dating somebody who's lying about their age, like they're saying that they're older or that they're younger than what they are, then they're also lying about their lunar or Chinese zodiac sign. Um, and because a lot of people are aware that like Scorpio and Pisces are the most psychic or the most like adept to supernatural energies, you might be an Aquarius and you're like reading astrology and you're just like, oh wow, like if people think I'm a Pisces, then they'll think I'm more connected to God and to spirit. And then you're like, oh, I want to be a preacher. I'm a Pisces, I'm all about God. And it's like, hey, your birthday is February 4th. Like, you're not a Pisces, you know? And then I was also talking about, randomly in the fourth house, I was talking about, Justin Timberlake and whether if his natal chart information that's posted online is accurate or not, because I've seen two different charts where one he's an Aquarius and one he's a Capricorn. And I was not a big enough fan of the Mickey Mouse Club to actually know what his birthday is. But then also that because of marketing, like because race is a part of marketing, like the fact that Levi's jeans are made by German people, like they're excellent jeans. Race is part of marketing, but also maybe in the future astrology will be part of marketing. So it's like, we have this new supermodel, Mindy Mofford, making fun of Cindy Crawford's name, Mindy Mofford, and she's a triple Libra, and she's just so beautiful and balanced and symmetrical and yada yada yada, and it's like, she's an Aries or something. And then also, I've been aware through like my dating life that there are people who know about astrology and who will, maybe their chart is like cursed or something, or it's like a bad chart. And so as a way to seem more flirtatious or more attractive, they're like, oh, well, I don't want to go. Oh, people actually, it's very common. Like, I don't want people to think I'm a Cancer, like I'm just going to tell people I'm a Leo. And then, you might, because you're a Cancer, you might get into like tarot readings and astrological readings online. And then next thing you know, you're face to face with like some Jabba the Hutt looking holler hog monster in West Virginia who's like gonna kill you and eat you for cocaine, um, which has been a legitimate fear of mine recently. So love and light to that. Return to sender. Thank you guys so much for listening about who is this? Michael Hall and RuPaul and Neymar and Paris Hilton and Jabba the Hutt and West Virginia holler hog people. Hopefully this video has scared you away and you never come back. Just kidding. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing and telling your best friend about how great these readings are. And thank you also for booking, your own natal chart reading so we can discover what cryptids are after you. I'll see you in my next video. Thank you. Bye.